Hey YouTube, welcome back. Today we have a quick video. We will talk about the microservices architecture, what they are and how they look like, and what are the pros and cons of the microservices architecture. Microservices are an architectural and organizational approach to software development where software is composed of small independent services that communicate over well-defined APIs. These services are owned by small, self-contained teams, and the microservice architecture make application easier to scale and faster to develop, enabling innovation and accelerating time to market for new features. So let's just talk about what is the opposite of the microservice architecture, which will be, make this white, the monolith architecture. And let's talk about how the monolith architecture will look like. So let's say that we have a user, and this user sends a request to a web servers, and these web servers like hold so many have so many small servers in them. Okay, let's just make it like that. For example, we have like user, maybe like an users, for example, users service that responsible for getting users, and let's say that we have event broker. No, delete this. I want to copy this, and maybe we could have like posts, and maybe we could have I don't know, let's say threads, or yeah, whatever. And this is the web server. This is the web server and have these services as in it, and the web server is connected with a database like a DB. Oh, this is too big one. Yeah, a DB, and everything looks good, everything looks fine. However, this is called the monolith architecture, and the monolith architecture or process are tightly coupled and run as a single service. This means that if one process of the application experiences a spike in demand, the entire architecture must be scaled. And adding or removing a monolithic application features become more complex and expensive as well. So let's say that the user service, the user section of the of this architecture has, when we want to grow it, we can grow it by itself, but we have to grow the full service at once. And if we have any problem, like example a bug in the users, we can, the full web server is closed, and we can use the posts, we can use the threads. So it becomes tedious and it becomes difficult to continue working. Also, you can't add, or you can, but just adding or removing new features or new technologies become quite difficult, because the code base it's being too complex and it's growing more and more. So a way to solve this problem, it's go through something called a microservice architecture, where each service, it's a server by itself, and the user will connect to them. And if we have a problem, for example, with the post service, the only thing will be affected is the post service, and the other services or the other servers will continue executing. And if we maybe have a spike in the user's service, we can just add more service to it, or maybe we can just add more resources like more CPU and RAM, and we don't have to add anything to the posts. And also maybe each one of them will have its own database, like the user will have its own user database, and its the posts the same and the thread will be the same. Basically this is not how in real world look like. In real world, basically the users do not connect with the services directly. What happened in real world is that let me make this one here. What happened in Windows, like the user is connected with something called an API gateway, a load balancer or something like API gateway, and this API gateway is responsible for communicating with all the services. The pros and cons of the system of the microservice architecture. Let's talk about the pros. Scalability. We can scalable any service as much as we want. Flexibility. Microservices promote flexibility in development. Like teams can choose the best technology stack for each service that you can see here. We have the faster development because the smaller teams can work on individual services, speeding up development cycle. We improve fault isolation. We have easier testing. We have the schedule of development team. The problem and the cons that comes with development with the microservice architecture is the complexity. Like managing a large number of services can become quite complex. The latency, like inter-service communication, could introduce some sort of latency. For example, let's say that if the post users, the post want to get the specific post of a specific user, so it has to connect with the user service for example, to get a specific response, like example user ID, and after that get the DB, the request from the DB. It's not like that. There is a solutions for this one and for the solution to not going to this one, but it's one of the challenges. We have the testing could become quite complex, like while individual services are easier to test, we can test each one quite easier. End-to-end tests can be complex. For example, if you want to create users and create posts in the same time, it's become quite hard. We have the security concern, like microservices introduce additional security challenges such as securing communication between services and handling authentication and authorization constantly. The learning curve, transitioning to microservice architecture can have a steep learning curve for development teams not familiar with the approach, because it's not that easy to learn. So yeah, that's it. This is what is the Microservice architecture, and this is the pros and cons of it. And yeah, I hope you like my content, and if you like my content and think that my content is quite good, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video, and see you guys in future problems.